running isn't fun, why do it? And I fell victim of it earlier on this year, but I didn't want to suffer that again. Before you can get the symptoms, your body starts trying to counter it through your immune system. I was taken to hospital, and they decided a few weeks later I was going to try and run 106 miles on the Cornish coastal path. That was a little bit stupid. So you're not just a running coach, actually you're almost a life coach. I'm genuinely invested in all the clients I have. I am 100% invested in every single one of them. Being continuously contactable isn't necessarily the best thing to be. When I find out they've maybe DNF'd or they've not achieved the time they want, the first thing I do is like, oh, I got it wrong. Desensitize the athlete to what I want to do.
Welcome back to the Adventure Athletes podcast, guys. In this week's episode, I sit down with Stuart Obree from Obree Coaching to talk about everything ultra running, especially how to coach ultra runners and taking people from their first steps all the way to running their first ultra. So if you're a keen runner or looking at getting into running, this is definitely the episode for you. Now, off camera, I had a great chat with Stu about everything he does outside of coaching and running, and he's got this incredible life that we don't even delve into on the podcast. So if you want to hear more from Stu, let us know and we'll get him booked back on. Now, January's coming up, new year, new me. People are setting themselves goals. They've already started eyeing up challenges they want to set themselves for next year. And if you're looking at being successful in 2024 with whatever challenges you may want to set yourself, you're in luck. Adventure Athletes have just opened 5 fully bespoke training slots for taking on new clients. So if you're looking at setting yourself a challenge, you don't know where to start, or you just want that bit of extra support, let us know. I'll set up a free consultation with you and we'll sit down and talk about your goals for next year and get a program started for start of January. So if that's something you're interested in, DM us, let us know. I'll set up that consultation and we'll get going. But for now, enjoy the podcast. What I really wanted to talk to you about was, as you can probably guess, ultra running. I'm going through a bit of a ultra running phase with this podcast. Everyone will be able to start telling from the guests, because we've had Graham on talking about the Dragon's Back. We then had Reese on. We've now got you on. Then I've got another guest coming on tomorrow called Lee, he ran the Tenny-Fan event, and I'm pretty sure he won the Tenny-Fan either this year or last year. Lee Davies.
Yeah, he's now a plumber.
Yeah. So he's going to be coming on the podcast.
So we know each other
tomorrow. Okay, small circle. So yeah, he's coming on. Then Bob Thomas is going to be coming on.
You just come through my following.
It was just, I got a lot of followers from the post I shared about you coming on. That got a lot of followers from that.
You should, like, actual not losing followers, you got more.
Yeah, no, I got more followers. And then from sharing it with Reese, I'm saying I've had Reese on the podcast. Mm-hmm. So I got a few followers from that. And then something I've started to do is I've started to message the new followers just to see why they're following, what they want to get out of the content, and how I can make what I do better for them, which I always feel a bit salesy. So I've had to say in the messages I send out, look, I'm not trying to sell you anything. I don't want to come across like that, but I want to know what you're following for, what sort of content you want to get from me, how am I benefiting you, and how I can do more of it. So I started messaging them, and then I had people being like, oh yeah, I was talking to Stu, and he's either recommended me, or he said or I've seen it on his story that he's coming on and stuff. So I thought I'd give you a follow. So I was talking to them and finding out about them, and then I was like, you sound really interested as well. Do you want to come on? And that's been something that's going to help me get guests on, because I've already said I hate just randomly reaching out to people. If they followed me, then it's and I reach out, at least I've got something to talk about.
Yeah.
And then with this it's I get to find out about them, and if they're interesting I can ask them to come on. I might cut this bit out, because if anyone's followed me and I've started a conversation and not invited them on the podcast, they're going to be like, am I really boring?
There's always one in the group, isn't there? Oh, it's me.
Yeah, so ultra running, got lots of ultra runners coming on, and I just want to I go through phases with my training. I like doing a bit of everything. I used to do parkour, so the sort of old school mindset of parkour was be strong to be useful. And then to me, that sort of meant you have to be ready for anything at any time. So I did a lot of running, I did a lot of like weightlifting and strong and functional movement, so I could just be ready for any situation. And then through that, I got into the fire service, because I was like, you can't be like in a better profession for someone that wants to be strong to be useful. You got to be ready for fires and saving lives. So then I was like got into that sort of training. And then that pushed me more to want to do more. So I signed up for the OTT Ultra in 2019. Did not train for it. Very, very stupid.
You're not alone. There's actually, it's amazing. There's so when I started running a long, long time ago, and I'm not gonna admit how far a good goal it was, because I'll seem very old. They used to do time served, so you used to have build up through the distances. So you'd run your 5Ks, 10Ks, half marathons, 50Ks, 100 miles, 100Ks, 100 miles, and then you build it that way. And nowadays people do 5K, 10K, half marathon, maybe a marathon. Let's go into an ultra, and it's the advancement of sports science, training methodology, the understanding how our bodies work, and technology kind of pushes us. Going now, let's see how far we can go. So yeah, not training for an ultra and rocking into it, you're not in a small field. I know of several athletes who have done that.
Yeah.
And they've got away with it. So I know.
Graham being one of them. Yeah, so I did that, and then after that, I did a little bit of running, but then I broke my ankle. Didn't run for ages then. I didn't break my ankle running, I just broke my ankle. Snapped it straight in half, so that didn't end up well. And then I signed up again this year, did the ultra this year, and now I'm just like massively into ultras again, and I'm like, yeah, I want to do all these ultras. I want to run. When Graham was on, he was like, you should do a 200 miler. I was like, oh, 200 miles? Yeah. The furthest I've done is the running. I did the 30 mile, the 50k for OTT, and then I've done a 50 mile barefoot walk. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, 200 miles, like that is a bit of a jump. Not sure if I'm ready for that.
So it's going to be interesting, this one. Psychologically, maybe not. Physically, there's no reason not to be. So a common theme is if you can run a marathon, if you can do a 50 mile barefoot walk, you can do 200 miles. So if you think so, Wild Horse, run by Reese, it breaks down to 40 miles a day. That's more than you did 30 miles a couple 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
And what was it, 9 hours?
Yeah, I did 8.5 hours. So
you've, if you think about that, and so you need to do another 10 miles in 15 hours?
Yeah.
You're going to do that and then you have loads of rest time. Obviously the checkpoints don't allow you that, but if you've got your crew, you could do that. You could recover for like 12 hours if you wanted to. Then do another 40 miles, recover for another 12 hours. You've got that fitness there already, because you can do the 30 miles, you can do the 50 miles. What now is just training. So get your brain in gear and going, right, this is how I'm going to break it, this is how I'm going to compartmentalize it, this is how I'm going to break it down. And then you just work on your nutrition. Going, okay, this is this type of food I need. I know I'm going to get taste fatigue. I know that I don't want gels. Because, there's nothing wrong with gels on shorter races, but if you're doing 200 miles over a couple of days, it's going to turn your stomach inside out. So you want real food. Bagels, pasta, rice puddings. A lot of people have custard. You discover as you journey, as you train, going, what can my stomach handle? Then when you eat during the day or eat during the night, your body differs. So one of the analogies I use is you'll start your running, and for those who drink squash, you might have 100 millilitres of squash to 900 mils of water, and that's where you're quite comfortable. 12 hours down the line, you've got 50 mils of squash, 950 of water, and that's strong enough. You add another 24 hours, and you've got 10 mils of squash and 990 of water, just because your taste buds change as you go through, as your body goes through all these different emotions and different feels, your taste buds change as well. So sometimes you want sweet, sometimes you want savoury, sometimes you just want water, sometimes the most blandest food possible is what you want, just to give you the calories, and it's just eating and just maintaining that discipline. Through anything, it's just consistency. If you go out and you train for your next ultra, say for example it is Wild Horse 200 next May. Like for now, it's just building up in a sensible approach, and then just gut training. What can your stomach handle? How many grams of carbs do you need per hour? All this fancy stuff like a nutritionist can help with.
Yeah.
And it's just, if you believe you can do it, you can do it. We've proven time and time again humans can do 200 miles. We were chatting about Alan Bateson earlier on, who's just done 1,047 miles. So he's proven that humans can do that. So if he can do it, anyone can do it. And that's not, I don't mean really disrespectful to Alan, but he's set the art of the possible. He's saying, well, as a human being, I can do this. So why can't any human do it?
Yeah.
If we have the consistency and dedication training that Alan showed through his build-up, we can all do it. So 200 miles, yeah, definitely. Middle of May next year, go for it.
Middle of May next year, be running 200 miles. You heard it here first, guys.
Yeah.
So how would you get someone who's not done anything like that to that? If they came to you and was like, Stu, look, I want to do something stupid, never run a marathon, want to do 200 miles, where would you start as a coach?
First off, I give them a high five. Yes, well on. So I'd spend a couple of weeks getting to know them and getting to know their fitness levels, their flexibility. You've got all these generic training programs online. You've got Runner's World and all that sort of stuff going, let's run a marathon, follow this 16-week program, follow this 20-week program. But they're generic to the average person. So on a Monday, it might say you have to run 10 miles. You might be too busy on a Monday because you've got work, then you've got after-school classes or sports classes or a multitude of different things, so it doesn't work. So I take the time to get to know them, like, what is your life balance? And then what's your energy levels? By the time you hit Friday, you're so busy during the week, you're completely fatigued. And then you're at the weekend, you're just trying to recover, you're just trying to survive to go into another week. And then from there, we start building up. We start identifying B and C events. Let's do some race simulation. Get you used to being in that environment. Some people have start line anxiety. The great runners, you put them on the start line, and you can just literally see everything around them just shaking. They're like, they just don't like it. So they do personal challenges rather than races. And I did that for a while. I didn't do any races for a few years, but I did personal challenges. And you just build up them. As they get to know me as a coach, I get to know them as an athlete. Their life might change. Children grow up, go to school, different schools, whatever the circumstances. The program flexes around what they can do, what their availability is, and we just build. And it's just consistency, and consistency all the way through. Where I get to come in at a bit of advantage, because I've been doing this for a while, I get to go, okay, let's look at running poles, for example. Some people are very pro running poles. Some people are very against running poles. 2 years ago, I was in the against field. I went, well, I don't want running poles. It's making your life easier for you. It's not the truest form of it, because if we think back to our ancestors, they never had running poles, so why should we? Now I'm in the other camp going, I've used them, I've seen the benefit of them, and I'm massively pro running poles. If you're doing any sort of long distance, if you can, apart from obviously on the road, use running poles. They're there, use them.
Yeah.
Same with nutrition. I like to try different types of foods, different types of sports nutrition. I work with sports nutritionists as well, because that's one area that I've identified that I need to improve on. As we were saying earlier about how busy we get, the first thing that falls on my wayside is my nutrition. I'll grab a bottle of water or grab a banana, whatever it's going to be. That then does me for a ridiculous amount of period of time, rather than me going, right, I'm running all day, or I'm doing all these different things. I need to sit the night before and go break down my food. So I got to sort that out. And it's just learning. Then you have quirks. You have certain things that you do and certain sessions you don't like. I personally don't like hill repeats. I know they're massively beneficial, but when my coach says, I want you to do a 9-minute hill, the first thing I want to do is be sick in my mouth when I read it, going, this is not cool. But then I'm going, okay, but I know the benefits of it. And you'll have it, and everyone has the same thing. So some people don't like flat intervals. Some people don't like short tempo runs. So you just, you factor them in, going, right, this is not the session you're going to enjoy, but you try and make it as enjoyable as possible for them. Come off the road and go into trail. Those who live around here, go up to Cwm Can, go into Wentwood. You've got a 45-minute run, so I want you to do it a bit fast, but here's a route you can do it on. It's going to be fun. So you change the scenario for them. You change the environment. All of a sudden, a 45-minute run that they used to do on the road, which was boring and just they didn't like, is now through some trees. And just now with it being so autumnal everywhere, it's actually quite beautiful.
Yeah.
So it makes it enjoyable. You're away from traffic, you're away from people. you might see deer, foxes, whatever it's going to be. So it's just helping them control their environment a bit better and making it fun. If running's not fun, there's no point doing it.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, you just learn. For me, I learn my athlete, and then I just help them build. It's an education. You know, they will teach me certain things about them, about their life, about being an athlete, as I try to educate them of, you know, if I say to you, I want you to do hill repeats, it's not because I'm a horrible individual and I know how minging they are. It's actually they build efficiency, they build economy. When you're doing your long slow run, because you've been working on the hills, you're actually more economical when you're running, so you're not using as much energy whilst you're travelling a bit faster. So it's educating that way, going so they know why I'm asking them to do a session, not just the old dictatorship. You shall do this session because I say so. It doesn't work that way anymore. A friend of mine once said, you know, knowledge isn't power. Sharing knowledge is power. And, you know, it can't be truer. You know, if you get educated or be educated by something, you're like, oh yeah, I get it now, and it just builds your picture and it gets bigger and bigger. And then someone's going to ask you a question 6 months, a year down the line, and you won't have the answer for them. Going, oh, how did I know that? Oh yeah, that someone shared that little bit of information with me beforehand. It happened last night on a run I was doing about compression leggings. So I found out when I did a race last April, I was wearing a pair of compression leggings. I wore overnight, but the bottom of them in the calf doesn't expand because they weren't designed for running, they were designed for recovery. But I thought, I don't want to take them off, I just want to keep on moving. I ended up getting an ankle injury because my ankle wanted to expand and swell, but the leggings weren't allowing it to do that. So I had a pressure point. So I then ended up getting a bad ankle. Like, it was a bruised ankle for a few days, a week, whatever. It was the kind of only injury I had after running for 3 days, 2.5 days. But like, I'd never ever heard of that before.
Yeah.
So when I was telling the group last night, because they were wearing compression leggings and they were talking about ultra running, I was like, well, I've learned this. And they're like, oh, I've never heard of that before. I was like, yep. 18 months ago, I was exactly the same.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you just build, you just learn and you just build, and it's, yeah. Sometimes you hold them back. Sometimes you encourage them to go a little bit faster.
Yeah.
You know, some people go, you've got to do certain distances to build up. Some people you don't have to do that. You can go, okay, I've got the kind of measure of you now. Let's go to let's make a slightly bigger jump, or let's go a little bit faster. And it just works.
So talking distances then, you've said something that I think, well, I've not heard anyone else say, is you don't have to go through all the distances. Everyone that I've ever spoken to has been like, yeah, do 5, 10, like then half marathon, then marathon, and build up to ultras and do that. And you're like, no, you can go straight to ultras, not a big fuss, just crack on with it. How would you approach the mentality behind it? I think that's what I want to know about, is the psychology behind ultras, because they're intimidating. Like, for someone that's not really run or only done road running, then doing an ultra is very intimidating.
So you would do the distance in training. So you wouldn't specifically do like a half marathon race, but you would cover that distance. So one of the ways that I coach, and it depends on the athlete, is some people like having distance. You know, in their plan they go run 10 miles, run 12 miles, run 15 miles, run 20 miles. So on these long runs, when they're building up to the multi-days, or even single days, they're covering the half marathon distance. But they're not doing it to a specific event, so therefore it doesn't mean the same to them, because they've got a bigger objective. Whereas other people, they prefer to run in time. So if I think back 4 years ago now, trying to fit in training on a very busy life was very difficult. Because I had a coach at the time and he prescribed by distance. So therefore I think, right, I've got X amount of time available. So therefore my route needs to be within a certain proximity of where I'm either working or living. Okay, I've got a route. What's the elevation profile? Because if I start doing a really hilly route over that distance, it's now going to add more time to it. So you start working out all them factors. Whereas now, a lot of the time I'll do is like, I'm asking for a 45-minute run, I'm asking for an hour's run, 2 hours run. So it takes away that you have to run 10 miles, you'll have to run 13 miles, you'll have to run a marathon.
Yeah.
Because we're all different, you know? You and I could both go out and go, right, let's go both run a marathon. And you could absolutely smash it in 2.5, 3 hours. I'm gonna be the tortoise at the back. I'm gonna be running in 4.5 hours. Whereas if I say, right, our training plan's a 2-hour run, it doesn't matter what the distance because it's time on feet. It gets you that desensitization to your time on feet. And that's the big thing for the ultras is people look at the distance, but they don't realise the time.
Yeah.
They all think, I've got to run. And you hear it every time. As soon as no matter what crowd you go into, if you say you're an ultra runner and you're like, I want to run 100 miles, within about 5 seconds, the first line you can hear is like, I don't drive that far in my car. Do you know what, bro? Neither do I. But I'm happy to run it. But they can't then comprehend of, if I'm thinking running 50 miles, 100 miles, a lot of time I think, well, that's going to be a day, 2 days, 3 days. Well, some people can do 100 miles in less than 20 hours, depending on the course and depending on the fitness level. So it's not that far out there anymore.
Yeah.
So you just build up and you just break down the barriers. If I go back to an event I did last year, and so I did Reese's Wild Horse, the inaugural Wild Horse South Wales, back in April last year. For 6 months, I had it as 200 miles. That's all it was 200 miles, nothing else. It wasn't until about a month beforehand I went, hold on a second, it's 5 days. It's 40 miles per day. That's all I need to do. And I was doing recce's, and I was doing recce, like 30-mile recce's in 7 hours. I was like, so I've got, X amount of hours to do 10 miles and rest, and eat, change my socks and shoes, have a social with whoever else is there. So it's just breaking it down in compartmentalising it. So we had Graham on talking about the Dragon's Back and doing the hatchling. You're still doing really big days, but if you looked at it over this entirety of the 6 days, it's like 300 miles. But I actually broke it down into individual days 1 to 6. That's all I need to run. And that's what we do with any ultra, be it 50k, 30 miles, 60 miles, 100k, 100 miles, 200 miles, 500 miles. You just break it down to what's manageable. As you get more and more tired, it might go checkpoint to checkpoint. Then you might have a crew with you, and you agree, all right, my checkpoint is 20 miles, so actually at the 10 mile mark I want to see my crew. So you break it down that way. So therefore, what all of a sudden becomes a really scary distance is 10 miles.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, most of my training runs are 10 miles. I go out after work and I'll do a 10-mile training run, which is like, say, for example, an hour and a half, 2 hours. I was like, I do that like twice a week, 3 times a week. So all of a sudden, to that athlete, it's completely manageable because they're not trying to comprehend something that's this massive. They've just broken down really nicely.
Yeah.
And you just work it that way, and then they'll throw other barriers to you. Do I change socks? Do I change my shoes? Do I change my shorts, my top, put a jacket on? All these different things, and it's the same thing. You just work through it. When it comes to layering, we're all so different. We all sweat, we all generate heat, we all do things so very differently. You just work through it. Go, let's go on a race simulation, or let's go for a long run through the mountains. If I'm going down to Cornwall in January to run an event that kind of kicked my ass last year. So I've got a few things to sort out with that one. But I'm going back down beforehand to recce the route that I've run across most of it. Sections I think I'm going to run at night time, I'm going to go and train at night time. So when it comes to that event, there's nothing new. It's all rehearsed, recce'd, understood.
Yeah.
So the only thing I'm not going to be able to control is controlling the controllables. The only things I'm not going to be able to control is the weather. And if that's all I can't control, I'm in for a good shout to at least complete the race this time.
Yeah.
And it's the same with everything. We talk about nutrition. It's the same thing. Are you going to change your shoes if you've got a section of road on your route? Well, how long's the road? It might be a mile, 2 miles, it might be 10 miles. Okay, what type of trainers are you wearing? Is it Innovate, Zero Drop, Graphene soles? They're actually quite good for a road. But do you want to wear them on road? No, I want to wear my Hoka Clifton 9s, which are super cushioned, super padded, give me a bit of bounce. It actually gives the feet a little bit of a reprieve. So you kind of recover and doing there. So you just kind of work through it and just you desensitize the athlete to what they want to do.
Yeah.
And then you get them to run with people. I like going out running by myself, or I take my 2 dogs. Funny enough, they never stay with me either. But I'll then go and run with people. So part of the, under the Obree coaching, I do guided runs. I always pick days where I've got a nice easy run that's been prescribed to me by my coach. And we've got understanding. And I've said to him, I want to do these events. On a Friday, I'm going to do 6 miles to 6k. And he's go, okay, this is the time window you've got. I'll then run with other people. So it then takes away the kind of any pressure of I've got to hit a certain pace, I've got a certain heart rate, I've got to do an elevation profile. It's time on feet with people having a social. And again, it goes back to, if running isn't fun, why do it?
Yeah.
And it's fun trying kit. It's fun trying it's mostly fun trying nutrition until it goes wrong and you get a slight upset stomach. That's not so much fun, but it's a process.
Yeah.
And then you'll know that, at 2 o'clock in the morning, your stomach doesn't like a pork pie. What it wants is like a Danish pastry or a rice pudding, or a McDonald's. Whatever works. When I was out in California last year with Reese, on the way to the race start, we stopped off at McDonald's because he knew that McDonald's was one of the things that sorted his stomach out. And I know that ginger sorts my stomach out. So it's just all these things. It's just following the process.
Yeah. Something we spoke about before the podcast is when you get people reach out to you for coaching, that sometimes they just might make assumptions. They've seen you on social media, they'll be like, I want him as my coach. And then you pointed out, one, don't really know me. I could be absolutely just a dick.
Which is 100% true.
And then the other point that you brought up, which I find quite interesting and isn't really spoken about, is how you might not want them as your client. So how do you go about deciding if you want someone as your client? What do you look for? What do you ask people when they reach out to you?
So it's never anything specific. It's not like, if you have this trait, I'm not working with you because, no. You kind of get a vibe from people. It's the same when we chatting downstairs before coming up here. The conversation was easy going, it was nice and floating. If we didn't have that sort of connection, it would have been a little bit awkward.
Yeah. So
when a potential client reaches out, I ask them a few questions, but I ask them for an hour of their time. Completely free, I don't charge them for that one. It's like, let's get to know each other. If they're local around here, I might go for a coffee shop. If not, it's on Zoom or Google Meet or whatever. And just through the kind of act of conversation, you get a bit of a vibe. And you were chatting earlier about how you're trying to do a sales pitch to people going, why are you connected to the post? I do the same. Like, this is how I coach. This is my methodology. And this is a bit about my character. And I'll ask them similar questions about, why they want to do it, what's the driving factors, what's the flexibility. You get that connection. And you'll tell very quickly that if you don't. Some of the things that I'll do is I'll tell an athlete, and I've done it unfortunately recently, is to say someone is, you signed up for an event, you've trained for weeks for this event, but you've now become either injured or poorly. Do not do the event. I think for your running career, that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
We're never in it. Well, we should never be in it for one event. You're not going to do months of training for one event. You want to be in for the long haul, When we are 60, 70, 80, we want to be the guys that are hitting the news that, we just run a marathon, or we're just on London, or we're just, we're still running through the mountains. That's what you want to be. It's not, I want to do the Dragon's Back next year, or I want to do the 200, or I want to do this marathon or 10K. Once I've done that, I've achieved it, I want to stop. It's not about that. It's let's see how far we can go. And you get these vibes from people of, are they in it for just a very short period of time, or are they genuinely invested into it?
Yeah.
And it's those who are genuinely invested, and you can tell by the language you use, they can tell the way they describe things when you ask certain questions. You're like, okay, I can work with that. But then I tell them how I coach, and I'll be blunt to athletes going, why are you missing this? Why aren't you doing this? Or if you're going outside the plan that we've constructed, and the plan is never me saying to you, this is what you're doing, this is how we're doing it. It's very much work together. So every plan I do is completely tailor-made. So we'll sit down, once a month. If we don't, part of the plan is you get either an hour face-to-face, so be it Zoom or coffee or whatever. We talk about the plan. Or we WhatsApp or social media, Instagram Messenger or Facebook Messenger going, okay, what have you got coming up for the next few weeks? How do you find the plans working for you? How's your energy levels? You do this checking in all the time.
Yeah.
And you evolve it. And if they're truly invested, you get a response from them. If they're not, you don't. And they're just like, whatever. Or, if I've not... So with the Training Peaks platform I use, I'll do my best to comment on as many workouts as possible. Sometimes I don't get every single one, it might be every second one. But if they're not responding to me on that, or I'll then drop them a WhatsApp or a Facebook Messenger or an Instagram Messenger going, I've left you some comments on Training Peaks. Have a look. Let's have a chat. Let's have a catch up. How's it all going? And then I'll ask, how was that session? If you tell me you've got a niggle on the next session, like, how is that niggle? Are you doing some rehab for it? Are you doing stretching? Have you seen a physio? I'm not a qualified physio or a nutritionist or anything else like that, so I'll instantly defer them to go and see the professional. From experience, I got, I've had, and it's usually, I've had this type of injury and this is what I've done, it's helped me. But go and see someone who's actually qualified in that department, go and get it properly looked at and get the diagnosis. And then please let me know what that diagnosis is, because that may affect your training program. Interesting you mentioned broken ankle. I know of 4 people in the last 2 months who have bust their ankle. And in June I bust my ankle a week before a 24-hour event, which put me completely out of the event. I couldn't even weight bear. So yeah, sympathise. Thankfully it wasn't broken. But yeah, for right now, for some reason, there's a spate of ankle injuries. So yeah, it's please go and see the doctor or the physio if you can get a scan. If it's a ligament rupture, is it grade 1, 2, or 3? Can you weight bear? Can you flex? Can you all these different questions? And from these questions, I'll then get an answer from them. Some people are like, yeah, I've got an injury. All right, tell me more. Well, it hurts. Great. It's like, what can I do with that? So they're the type of people that you kind of get, and you get a vibe from it within the first, an hour's phone call. It's quite a long time to talk to someone. If you think back to girlfriends, boyfriends, husbands, wives, when you first start getting together, at the age of mobile phones, maybe not so much when it was pay phones, you sit on this phone for hours. You wouldn't think anything of it, but when you're sat there talking to someone who you want to potentially be your coach, or you're trying to, it's me trying to sell myself, say it wrong, sell my services. That's not even better. To be a coach, an hour is quite a long time to do that.
Yeah.
And you get to know a person quite quickly, and the more you do it, the quicker you make an assessment. I've been employed now for 20 years, 21 years, and worked in lots of different areas. So I get to know a lot of different characters, and you get to pick up different traits. So yeah, you get to find it very quickly. And touch wood, there's no one I've had to turn around and say, I'm sorry, I just can't work with you. I've had to politely decline, because I restrict the number of clients I have. I've got a specific number that I will not go above, and it's not for any other reason than you've come to me, we've made a contract, and I've said to you, I will do my utmost to get you to this event or a lot of events in the best physical form you can possibly be, barring any unforeseen injuries, etc. If I take on any more clients, I'm not giving you the due diligence you deserve.
Yeah.
So therefore, I'm not giving you the best that you deserve. So yeah, I very much have a firm line going. After this number, it's a reserve list, and if a space becomes available, you'll be notified. But yeah, it's thankfully no one going, yeah, sorry, like, I'm a douche, you're a bigger douche, I can't work with you. It doesn't.
I think that's a very sensible way to go about it, is have that set number, because there's a lot of coaches out there that would just be like, yeah, I need more money, come be my client. And then their current clients start to get a decline in the services, like you were saying. So
yeah, for me, so I've never actually advertised saying, hi, I'm Obree Coaching, come and work for me, I'm going to make the best plan you've ever seen and you're going to achieve everything you want. On my social media I do coaching pushes going, accountability, expertise, all these different bits and pieces, because that's what having a coach does. I've been in this game quite a while. I have a level of expertise. I think to be classed as an expert, it's got to be 10,000 hours. So I've done that and a little bit more. So you may be classed in the expert field, but never kind of trying to pull the clients in just for money. It's all word of mouth, it's all reputation, and that takes effort, and it's organically grown.
Yeah.
But it only takes one person to go, nope, he's taken on too many clients, had a bad program, he didn't update in time, I felt like I was ignored. Very quickly, a bad reputation will go around a lot quicker than a good reputation.
Yeah.
And once that damage is done, then it's a lot of work. So I've been told. To recover it.
So what do you think makes you stand out from other coaches? What makes you different?
You mean the bald head and big ginger beard? It's a tough one. So I only know maybe 4 or 5 other coaches personally. I've seen what people do online and on social media. I think it's more so the fact that, for me, it's, we were saying earlier on, if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. Well, right when I do this, I'm not working. I'm having fun. I'm helping people. People are achieving. I'm trying to learn from them as they're learning from me.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of hoping that makes me stand out. Going, actually, I'm approachable, kind of friendly, even though the kind of whole look kind of puts people off. But I'll hold my hand up if I've got it wrong. Saying, giving someone a session like that's outside my remit. That's too fast for me or too long for me. Yep, sorry, my bad. Let's back down again. But I'd like to hope every coach would do that. But I'm genuinely invested in all the clients I have. I'm 100% invested in every single one of them. So if they say to me, I've got a niggle, or I've got like a full blown injury, or I've got a cold, one of the gentlemen I coach, he messaged me going, I'm starting to get a bit of a cold, feeling a bit rough. It's like, right, is it a head cold or a chest cold? Because if it's in a head cold, you can still go out, but we'll dial it down. If it's a chest cold, you stop training. Just, because your cardiovascular system's already under a bit of stress, you don't want to add to it. So I have that genuine, as a person, I'm invested in you as a person, as an athlete. It's not just that you're paying me X amount per month. Thank you very much, now crack on.
Yeah.
And all my clients have, they've got my WhatsApp phone number, so they can just message me, and they'll get a message. Some people maybe switch off at 6, 7 o'clock at night. I've had some of the athletes text me at kind of 10 o'clock at night. I've still been awake, going, okay, I'll respond to this now. Or if it is after I've gone to bed, but I'm up at 4 o'clock in the morning, I've learned a bit better now. But you might get a text message at me from like 4:30 from walking my dogs, going, no, they've asked about that training session or something about equipment. I'll just quickly respond, yeah, okay, your metrics are showing you a bit tired, a bit fatigued. Don't do the intervals, do an easy session. So when they wake up, that information's there. So it's that kind of almost full-time support for them.
Yeah.
Which for them is great, and for me is great because they know I'm there, but also, as we were discussing earlier on, being continuously contactable isn't necessarily the best thing to be.
Yeah.
Because we need our time as well.
Yeah, and that's the hard balance to get as a coach, is, like you're saying, you want to be there for your athletes. And as you said off camera as well, like, they're reaching out to you because they want help. And as a coach, you want to help them. But then you, finding that balance of, right, I need to help you, but I need to look after myself in order for me to give you everything I've got. That balance is super hard.
It is, and in all honesty, I've probably not got it right yet. So I've been a coach full time in the business now for properly for 18 months. The balance is still in favour of the client and the athlete, but slowly trying to change it. Learning from other habits, learning from feedback that people are giving me. On the group run last night, one of the ladies running, and she was asking me about coaching, and how I coach, my methodology, and everything, and what I provide. And an interesting comment, it's kind of stuck with me a bit. She's like, so you're not just a running coach, actually you're almost a life coach. Now, it's not something I'm going to ever advertise saying, oh yeah, by the way, I'm your new life coach. It's not that. But when you run, if you've had a really hard day, or so if I've had a hard day in the office, and been at the computer screen, or something's bothering me, stressing me out, and I put on my running trainers and I go for a run. And these kind of group sessions, there is no conversation off limits.
Yeah.
And I find if you've got friends there who have known each other for years, there is definitely no limits. You have all these conversations, and you think to yourself, you've just met me, or you've met me 2 or 3 times beforehand, but you're kind of, I'm running right next to you, but you're chatting in the group, and you've been very open about whatever's going on, and it's really humbling. Going, actually, you're in a nice little circle of trust here, but then they go back feeling so much better. Going, I'm relaxed now, I'm chilled out, I've kind of vented, all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
I know I've gone home beforehand from work, and you get that kind of, where have you been? You've seen the time. Oh, congratulations, you can tell the time. The kind of thing is going to incite an argument straight away, and I get handed a pair of trainers going, you need to go for a run because you're going to douche. Okay, yeah. and that's what it is. You're exhausted,
Yeah.
but you want to go for a run because you know that you come back from the run, you're no longer to be exhausted, even though you've just knackered yourself out doing like 5k an hour or whatever. So yeah, it's that kind of.
So you pointed out something that as coaches we see a lot, but as people isn't always seen, and the many roles that a coach has to have. Unless you're in elite sport, like if you're like in like the top 1% of coaches coaching the top 1% of athletes for like the British cycling team. If you're their cycling coach, you're their cycling coach. You don't worry about anything else. If you're their nutritionist, you're their nutritionist. As any other level coach, you've got to be nutritionist, you've got to be life coach, you've got to be sports coach, you've got to like be a bit of like a physio, not like taken away from the medical profession if there's a serious injury, defer them, but like if there's like little niggles, you have to like sort of give some advice and be like, right, we'll try and find ways around this and everything. How do you approach all that? Like, it's hard.
With a lot of head scratching. So I've been doing this a long time. A lot of the niggles or injuries or things I've come up with, I've probably experienced as well.
Yeah.
I'm in a very, very fortunate position that, I have regular sports massages. And the lady I go to, she's super knowledgeable, she's a trainer as well. And I have these discussions going, so if I had this injury, and I've had picked out, the one that jumps to mind the most is I had a niggle in my right knee and it was causing very sharp shooting pain. And it wasn't long after I ran the 200, so it's kind of understandable. I'm going, I've probably done a bit of mischief here, and it took a few weeks, but we worked out the actual origin. So a lot of time people go, your knee's hurting, so your knee's the problem.
Yeah.
Well, no, that's not the source of the problem. That's the bit that's been the most painful, which has alerted you to it. So you've got to kind of backwards engineer through the body to where the origin of the pain was. So it worked out for my right knee, my right shoulder was what was the pain. Because I've been training for months, carrying a back like a race pack. I had, every 2 weeks, sports massage my legs. So they were great. I hadn't had my back touched at all. So when my sports masseuse pressed into my back, she couldn't press the muscles and they'd all seized up. And that was throwing my body out. So my back was seized, so therefore my hips weren't moving properly, my glutes weren't firing, my legs weren't firing properly. So I was out of symmetry, and that was causing knee pain. So once we worked that out, she went to town on my back, and I did almost cry a few times because it was bloody painful. But afterwards, I was like, when she finally released my shoulder, I went out for a run. I'm like, I've got no knee pain, and it just felt brilliant.
Yeah.
So you learn from your own experiences. I do like a lot of research as well, like a lot of articles, and lots of the conversations. Very fortunate. 3 or 4 of my athletes are also coaches. So and they've got a lot of experience. So we just yesterday, for example, I was in a chat conversation with one of them, and we were talking about power for runners. Very common in the cycling field, not so common in the running field.
Yeah.
So we were having a discussion around that. So you learn from having these conversations. But then you just go on, if you get a specific problem, you can't know everything. So if an athlete comes up and goes, I've got this or I've got that, you're like, ooh, that's a new one. Let me just go and consult Google. And you go away for a day or two, do your research, going, right, this is what I've come away with from information you provided me. I think you need to go and see a medical professional. I think you need to go and see a nutritionist or a strength and conditioning coach or a personal trainer or whichever signpost you want to kind of go to.
Yeah.
But it's not being afraid to say, I don't know, but give me time to find out, and then going, I recommend you go and see someone. And I'm never shy in going, please go and see a nutritionist, please go and see a physio, please go and see a doctor.
Yeah.
And then tell me the information back. Because as soon as you give me the information back, I've learned, and that information I've learned can go to the next client. Or in 6 months' time, 12 months' time, if this reoccurs, we've got shared information. Oh, remember when this happened? Like this time of year, seasonal affective disorder is pretty strong.
Yeah.
I suffer from it a little bit, kind of mild. I've sensed my mood changes, but I know of other people who suffer really badly. I was working with them last year. So this year we've got some kind of initiatives in place to counter it straight away, going, okay, we've learned from last year. Do you have one of the night lamps? that when you wake, when it, I think it's half an hour before your alarm goes off, it starts to slowly light up.
Yeah.
Do you take vitamin B supplements? Do you go to a gym and have a treadmill because you're going to struggle to get outside? So you just look at all these different initiatives, and it's just learning. We've all been there, if you probably think back going, oh yeah, it was dark, I was struggling to get out of bed in the morning, and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
It's just learning, and then, I say, making the same mistakes myself. So like, last year I got poorly, and it was down to my nutrition. I was so busy at work, I kind of neglected my nutrition. I was taken to hospital, and then decided a few weeks later I was going to try and run 106 miles on the Cornish Coastal Path. That was a little bit stupid. They say hindsight's a perfect 20/20. It's very stupid. But at the time I was like, I feel recovered, I feel fine. Very quickly worked out I wasn't, and it was a DNF in the race. So yeah, I have a few issues with that. So again, I've managed to pass on some information to other people who said, I'm starting to feel this, or I've got this. I'm like, okay, I can sympathise with DNFs, I can sympathise with DNSs about being ill, and mine was down to my nutrition. So this year, again, for some reason, this time of year, it started to become really busy again. So I've reached out to a local nutritionist. I said, like, I know my traits, I know what's happening.
Yeah.
And it's accountability. A lot of people come to a coach for accountability. They know what they need to do. There's so many athletes out there who know they could coach themselves. They have the knowledge, they have the ability, but what they don't have is accountability. So I can write up a training plan for myself. I know what I don't like doing, so I'm not going to put that in my training plan. I know things I can get away with. Do you know what? I'll put that in my plan because if I want an easy day. But if I want to skip a session, I'm not going to stand in front of a mirror and have an argument with myself. There's no point because I'm always going to win. But when I've got a coach who I've got to report to, you've kind of got that, I've got to make up a good excuse now.
Yeah.
With the nutritionist that I worked with last year, and I suspect with the one I've started working with now, any excuse I give, they've heard it dozens of times beforehand. Same with athletes, and probably same with some of your athletes. They've given you an excuse and went, yeah, I've used that one before myself. Can we have something original, or should we just cut through all this and just tell me the real reason?
Yeah.
And as soon as you get to that point, you're like, okay, now I've got it. So yeah, it's all learning. It's all fun.
Yeah. 2 questions with that. I'll start off with one that shouldn't be too in-depth. Do you think that's why a lot of coaches have coaches? Because every coach I've spoken to, like, you're a coach, you have a coach, you coach coaches. Yeah. Like, every coach has a coach.
Yeah, and I think it's that accountability is one. We're all human. There's an easy road and there's a hard road. We don't like change, so we'll go for the easy road. What is the easiest path to get from A to B, or to do what I need to do? It's going to be this path. But do we want to do it better? Or do we want to go from 100 miler to 200 miler? Do you want to... Okay, so therefore I now need to be more consistent, more dedicated. I need to be better in some shape or form. When you're thinking about it all, I'm doing it all, it gets very tiresome.
Yeah.
Whereas if you've got a coach in the background who's doing the thinking for you, and he's like, let's do, well, this is what I need you to do. Okay. You're going to do it, don't you? You kind of... You've taken half the effort out for you. Because there's a lot of trust as well. As a coach, the number of athletes I have, they trust me. They trust that I'm not kind of messing around with the program, not trying new things. And if I do try something new, I'll tell them before I'm going, I've heard of this new way of training. You're chatting earlier on about using power. So one of my athletes wants to use power next year. So we had an in-depth conversation of pros and cons and ways to get that done. It's a methodology I've not used in running, but I've used in cycling. So I now do my research to prove it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just that kind of... I want to stop thinking for myself and be told what to do. You have the trust and you have the accountability.
Yeah.
And it's a bit of it's quite heavy for a coach in ways of, you've got maybe 10, 15, 20 athletes. They all trust you implicitly.
Yeah.
If you say this is your plan for the next 2 weeks, apart from I'm not available, I'm away working, they crack on and do it. And you think, yeah, they're not questioning me, so they trust you. And then they report back in because they're accountable to you.
Yeah.
So yeah, you kind of... And as someone who's being coached, if I miss a session or I don't quite do it the way the coach has prescribed, say for example, he's asked me to do 9-minute hills, and the only hill I found nearby 6 minutes. It's like, do I run down for 3 minutes and then run back up again, or does that counter it? It's like, actually, I'll do the best effort I can, and then I'll in the feedback I'll say, kind of got the route a little bit wrong. For me, I always apologise to the coach if I've not done it quite right.
Yeah. He's
like, no, it's fine. You've got the emphasis on the session. You're doing the hill sessions. So yeah.
Yeah. No, amazing. That's something I really struggle with is coaching for myself. But what I find is you're probably the same, because we spoke that we're numbers guys. We love the numbers. We love the stats. Like, as much information as we can get, chuck it at us. I want to know everything. And for me, I'm great with that for athletes. I can see everything and really understand what's going on. But for me, I want to make it perfect. I'm like, I want to make this perfect program. And I was talking to the guys from Charles from Stand Tall, the mental health charity, and they do weightlifting. And we were saying about how, like, as a coach, and you've got that knowledge and you know how to use all the numbers, you just want to make the perfect plan. And then you'll start doing it, and then you'll think of like, oh, something's missing. I'll add that in, and you try and like build it, and then it becomes too much. And also the fact that you'll set this ideal of like, this is like the perfect plan. As soon as you miss a session, like, that's it. You're like, it's not the perfect plan anymore. I've got to start again.
Yeah. And for myself, so I've got a treadmill in my living room. So I took out, one of the big comfortable chairs, and I put in a treadmill. And the wall behind it is my threshold paces, my tempo paces, and everything else, dialed right into the percent and what incline I can have the treadmill at. So that is very similar to yourself. I'm like, I have the data right in front of me. I can control the controllables. But yeah, it's I love seeing it for all athletes.
Yeah.
And as an engineer as well, I'm like, yes, I've got all this information. But it's also a little bit big brotherish. So if you think about, if you've got an athlete or a client who's going out for a run, you know their pace, you know their heart rate, you know their cadence. If they're wearing a GPS watch, you know exactly where they're running. You know how much time they're spending in each zones. All of a sudden, you've got so much information about this person. And on the kind of some of the watch like Garmin's and Coros and everything else, you've got HRV, you've got temperature, you've got their sleep. So all of a sudden, you know that you have client A who's slept for 8 hours and 6 minutes, and they've spent so much time in each of the REM zones. And you're like, I know a lot about you, and you might never met them face to face.
Yeah.
But you've got, and
you might know more than they know about themselves, because to them it's just numbers. Yeah. There's no attachment to that. But for us, looking at it.
Yeah. So if you, for example, HRV, so heart rate variability, kind of started coming into the kind of sports world a couple of years ago, and it's, all the watches do. I've seen you wearing a Whoop, and that's got HRV. I'm wearing a Whoop as well. I'm wearing a Coros. They both do HRV, so I compare them to, and I've got a third app as well going, what's the differences? I sit there having my morning coffee going, which one am I going to pick today, because which one's telling me the better result? And I've had it before where it gives you your body battery. So I've then messaged a client in the morning going, I'm sat having my coffee. I'm not told them I've had my coffee, but I said, I'm looking at your body metrics. Your body battery percentage is down. Please don't do the intended session. Please do this session instead. Or actually, don't train at all, because it's below 25%. I just need you to recover. So please focus on good sleep, good nutrition, just taking it easy. And they're like, how do you know? I feel fine. I'm like, your watch is telling me something differently. And the HRV gets affected if you start getting the cold and flu.
Yeah. So
before you can get the symptoms, your body starts trying to counter it through your immune system.
Yeah. And
the watch picks it up. So you're like, oh, wait a minute, you're starting to negatively trend here. Like, you're about to be ill. No, I feel fine. I said, no, you're going to be ill. I said, no, I feel fine. And then 2 days later, like, you've cursed me. this is you. You've like had a voodoo doll, made me ill. It's like, no, it's just your metrics tells you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've tried a few times to make the perfect plan for me. But, as one said, the plans never survive first contact.
Yeah.
So something's going to happen. Life is going to happen. Life is busy, It's that flexibility of, actually, if I can make a plan that's 90% is near as damn it, that 10% gives you the flexibility.
Yeah.
We've all got goals. We've all got to, we all want to achieve, a certain distance or in a certain time, or, climb specific, 6As, 7As, or you want to cycle, or you want to, your gymnastic athletes to complete this, double round off twist with a side kick, or whatever gymnasts do. Don't really know. You have this plan. You're like, well, actually, if I aim for that, I'm probably going to miss it. But actually, if I aim slightly back, you then get room for growth, and it's building blocks.
Yeah.
You just build up going, okay, the first exercise you've nailed. You've got it down 100% of the time every time. Let's add the second one. Then let's add the third one. And it's the same with all this. It's you just keep eye into it, and then you'll have a plan where it does work, it does achieve. And you go, okay, my athlete has achieved, say for example, it's arc of attrition sub 24 hours. That's what they wanted to achieve. They've done it in 23 hours, 59 minutes. Brilliant. They've done it. Happy days. But then they'll be like, what's next? And then you go again, you're like, here we go. But then the opposite side of that is when it doesn't go right.
Yeah.
So, you be in there now. I'll spend a few hours on plans going, right, let's look at it. And it might be a simple thing that the athlete has been poorly and they've just had a bad race, or, so many different factors have gone against them. And it could be multiple, it could be one. When I find out they've maybe DNF'd or they've not achieved the time they want, the first thing I do is like, I got it wrong. Like, whoever made a mistake. So I then just pull up Training Peaks. And if they've been with me for a year, I'm now going through a year's worth of data, going, right, where have I made a mistake? Where's this athlete hasn't performed because of me?
Yeah.
Utterly, completely illogical. It could be they've got a cold, it could be some of the routes just now where the weather conditions are so boggy. I know of a friend of mine, she was running a few weeks ago and she lost a trainer in a bog. There's a picture of her trying to, she's trying to fish around this bog to get her trainer back. So she lost quite a bit of time there. So it happened, these things happen. But as a coach, you want each of your athletes to achieve what they want and some.
Yeah.
So when they don't, you're like, what have I done wrong? But yes, it works both ways.
Yeah, that's a very difficult thing to have as a coach, is that pressure of, is this athlete going to do what they want? Am I able to get them there? And it's only through, like you said, you've been doing it for years, you know what you're doing. For people that are coming fresh into it, they're going to have, I wouldn't even say more doubts, just stronger doubts, because as a coach, you're always going to doubt, I feel. Imposter syndrome is massive in coaching.
Oh, it's huge. And it's funny you pick that up because I did a social media post about it last week. Only because I had a conversation with a gentleman who joined one of my social group runs. And I'd ran with him for an hour. And I had loads of conversations with him. And he was at the front of the group. And I got to know his story. And a year beforehand, he'd never run. He started to run to lose weight. And he was saying that, he used to run late at night when no one would be around. So no one could see him. So because he felt that kind of pressure. And then he's gone from that to run his first ultra within a year. And he was saying how he stood in the start line, he was looking around at everyone going, well, they've all got the kit, they all look a certain way, they all appear a certain way. And I was like, mate, I've just watched you for the last hour. No one deserves to be stood in that start line more than you right now. And I was looking at myself going, to be fair, you deserve to be in that start line more than I do, because I've had a bit of an easy year because of injury and illness, and I've not really raced that much. And then just yeah. And, that's what then inspired that post going, and I look back at some of the things I've said. So after the Wild Horse, quite often I'll say, it was just a lucky race. Just the running gods just favoured me that day, and all the things came into alignment. Not the fact that I trained for 6 months beforehand specifically for that event, or the fact that I trained for a good number of years. People I say, if you go for an event, it might be the same in your disciplines as well. How long have you been training for this event? Well, I've not just been training 6 months for this event. Every run I've done beforehand since I was knee-high to a grasshopper, this is all trained up to this point.
Yeah.
And it's going to carry on training. So yeah, it's that kind of... And and then I look back and it's not just running, it's not just sports, it's, in work, it's in life, you're like, oh yeah, it's kind of everywhere.
Yeah. That's something that really resonated with me from Reese's podcast, is the fact that he was talking about how he frames DNFs as it's a training run.
Yeah.
Like, if you don't finish a race, that's fine, there's going to be more.
Yeah.
You can always do another one, and this is just good training for it, because you learn more from your failures than your successes.
Yeah, so DNF, did nothing foolish.
Graham taught me that one from you.
Yeah, in my opinion, after what happened with that event, we were chatting, and so he was doing a blog post, so he asked me to read it, and he's like, what, DNF? I was like, yeah, I did nothing foolish, because I'd learned from a DNF previously as well. In my view, and people may disagree with this, we're all entitled to our own opinions, is you never fail. The only way you could fail is if you do not learn a single thing. If you do not start a race or DNS, there's been reasons for it, be it an injury, be it family commitments, be it your car's broken down on the M6 on the way across to the race HQ, or whatever it's going to be. There's going to be reasons for it, and you're going to learn. And DNF, you've started, you've trained, you've started, it's gone wrong for a reason. There's things that have happened, be it, again, illness, be it injury, be it... the best one I've heard is, I just found the route really boring. I was like, I respect that for the fact you've said that, because you understand the type of terrain you want to race in. I don't like road running. I kind of just switch off from it. Whereas trails, I'm fully engaged and like kind of in the moment. So you always learn. You always bring something going, okay. And it might be you've had a kit malfunction, so you might still complete the race. But your bag might have burst open, you might have burst a water bottle, you might have lost a glove. You're always going to learn, so you never really fail.
Yeah.
If you completely ignore everything and do exactly the same thing, then, well, first off, you're a bit of an idiot, and then you have, but you've intentionally done that.
Yeah.
So I don't think, in my personal view, there is no such thing as a failure, because you do learn lessons.
Yeah. The way I sort of always pitched it to myself, not always, because I used to really struggle with not finishing things. Mm-hmm. That used to be a sort of cycle that I fell into, because I'd tell myself that I was someone that didn't finish things, and then you sort of fall into that cycle and you have that reason to give up, and you start doing a race and then you'll be like, oh, I'm just not good enough for this, I always give up on stuff. Yeah. And you've got that mentality, and the way I sort of got out of that is I kept telling myself, if I'm not failing, then I'm not trying hard enough. If I can just do everything I set myself to, and I teach this to my gymnasts, I'm like, if you landed every move that I ever asked you to do first time, then I'm not telling you to do hard enough moves, and we need to try harder.
Exactly. So it's, and I think social media's got a lot to play with this. And I fell victim of it earlier on this year. So the Arc of Attrition, I DNF'd that due to ill health. As I say, stupid move to start on the toll line, but I was there anyway. I then booked a race in, so that was January, so in the April, and there was less than a handful of people who knew I was booked in for that race, and I didn't put it in social media, I didn't put it in, so I see quite a lot these days, people advertising, I'm going to do this race, I'm going to do that race, it's always going to be really cool, and if something goes wrong, they then put a post up going, well, this didn't work out, or this didn't happen, and they give excuses for it, which is fair enough, things do happen. But I didn't want to suffer that again. I struggled with a DNF, even though it was legit reasons. I went into turmoil for a few days, and then even now, I'm going back down wrecking the course, and I've got some gremlins that just need to sort out, and that's going to be done by completing the course. I'm not there to win it. I'm not there to kind of be this, second chance hero. I just need to complete it, because right now on that course, I feel like a bit of a failure. The fact I even started the course, and it's like known as one of the hardest ultras in winter time anyway. Who wants to run 100 miles on the Cornish coast in January? You're exposed to all the elements. So then I ran, in the April I ran a 50 miler on the course, and I got to a certain point, and it seemed like my legs getting tired. And I was just like, do I give up at this point? But then I looked at where I was like, actually, I'm moving really well. And I think I placed, I was like in the top 30, I think. I was only there for a training run.
Yeah.
And my mentality for a lot of this things, so the 200, even for the Arc, if everything else, I'm going into it with the mentality of a training run. Because I learned one of my characteristics is when I think about going into a race to compete against all the other athletes that are there, psychologically, like, I bail from it. I'm like, nope, I'm putting this too much self-induced pressure.
Yeah.
There's a really good book, Performing Under Pressure, by Dr. Josephine. Oh, I need to get you the really, really good book, and it's all about imposter syndrome, the pressure we put on ourselves. And I've started reading that before every big event now, because it just helps ground me back down again. So yeah, I now go into any event going, this is just a training run. No matter what happens, it's just a training run. And the same thing with the 200. Until a week beforehand, because I'd done a few recce's and I got to know quite a few people, and I put on social media, I'm going to do the recce of this site, leg 1, leg 2, whatever.
Yeah.
And a couple of people got to know, they're like, oh mate, you got a good chance. I'm like, don't hear it, not interested. Like, I've never run 200 mile before. I was like, I want to know, can I do it? I want to see how far I can push my body. And I think a good chance for Strava stalking you, seeing all this sort of stuff. And that started playing in my mind. So like the last few days, there was that bit of self-pressure going, well, if these guys think I can do all right, well, maybe I can. And then it's almost like the Goggins syndrome, kind of. Yeah, I'm gonna nail this. I'm gonna take some souls, as Goggins says. But it's just like, no, completely, and it started playing with my mind a little bit. Whereas now it's like, nope, it's a training run. If I do really well, great, amazing, well happy. I'm just there to complete it now.
Yeah.
Which means I'm far more relaxed. And when you're more relaxed, you run better. So it's it's a nice little trick to play on yourself.
Yeah. That I feel like I'm the opposite to you. When I go to these events, despite lack of training, so there's no evidence backing up what I think, and it will come across as a bit of an ego, but personally I don't feel it is ego that's driving this. There's something deeper within that I haven't quite figured out. But I have this unwavering belief that I can do a lot better than I can. So when I did this OTT Ultra, I had this image in my head. I was like, 6 hours, I can do it in under 6 hours. And even now, I still believe I can do it in under 6 hours, despite the fact it took me 8.5 hours. And I'll give myself all these excuses and stuff, and I know that if I did follow a structured training plan and I did everything better to the best ability that I can, that I truly do believe I could do it in 6 hours. I understand why I didn't. Mm-hmm. I know I'm capable.
But then that's a great motivator.
Yeah. But then when it comes to race day, I'll see people and I'll be like, I could beat them. And then they'll smash me, hours ahead of me. I don't know what it is, but how would you sort of go about coaching someone like that? Because I feel like sometimes it's undeserved.
It would only be by learning. By learning your little tick, by learning about you as a person is the only way you could really start kind of breaking down the reasons why. Because there will be a reason why. Yeah. Be it maybe something from, your teenage years or whenever. They'll be like, there will be some reason it gives you that confidence. And, some people might call it a bit of arrogance, some people kind of call it confidence, some people call it self-belief. But for me, it's a great driving motivator. As a coach, going, right, you want to achieve 6 hours or sub 6 hours. Okay. I now know that I can throw kind of harder workouts at you that might throw at, say, for example, Graham, who I know he's, into the slightly longer distances, and he wants, you jokingly say, we, get value for money, so spend a bit longer on the course.
Yeah. That's a great way to look at it.
Who's getting the best value for money? Well, the purchase coming in just in front of the sweepers. They're enjoying the course the most. But that'll help influence the kind of training program we create for you is by understanding your motivators and the reasons why you're doing it.
Yeah.
And it's no different from someone at the opposite end of the scale. It's learning you as an individual, learning your factors, and applying them correctly. And it'll even go down to the language you use. I'll maybe talk to some people I've known for years. I can be very jovial about some of the programs we're doing and what some of the expectations are. But they know underneath that joviality there's a very firm line of this is the expectation.
Yeah.
Whereas someone who's very different like yourself and might be right, there's no joviality, this is what I expect you to do. And you're like, yeah, got it. And you go and do it. And then you come back and we take the mickey out of each other. You call me a grumpy sod, and I said, well, at least you listened. So yeah, it's again with coaching and with running. If you're in a running club, or not even a club, if you're in a running group, if you're running with your friends, whatever, you will know each other.
Yeah.
And that's key. I see it with some of the athletes I coach. They have started forming smaller groups themselves, and taking them on trails and and they're getting to know the runners around them, and it's a beautiful thing to see. Like, oh yes, this runner does this, and this runner does that, and then you get into like really in-depth conversations about it, and it's them understanding how I was at the start of them as a coach.
Yeah.
As they're now learning their new group, and they're finding out what their factors are.
Yeah.
One of the ladies yesterday, she's a really big mountain biker, and very new to running. She was, I used to think that, my fitness, I was really fit because I was a mountain biker and do all that sort of stuff. Had an injury, so I had to go back to running. I've had to come to running for the first time. She went, a whole new appreciation. And it's those little things that go, okay, you're now understanding a different discipline, a different sport. So you're now understanding your character a little bit better. Whereas then, with the group she runs with normally, I say normally the last 2 or 3 months, she'll now understand them a little bit better. Yeah. And then we go, okay, let's have it's building blocks. It's just, you remember when we were younger, if you had them as the multicoloured building blocks. This is all coaching is. It's just different building blocks, getting to know the individual, getting to know their environment, getting to know what drives them, and ultimately, and sometimes they don't know. You help them that voyage of discovery of, why are you doing this? Some people run for charity. Some people run for self-validation. I've been guilty of that in the past, using running to validate who I am as a person and as a coach and as a runner, going, I have to win, I have to do all this sort of stuff. Now I just run for fun. I run for me. I'm very fortunate that I have companies and that who support me, but actually I just run for me because it's the fun part of it.
Yeah. I know, something that's just made me reflect on myself and my training, and it is almost the reason why I don't train for things, because I do a lot of things without training, and I always intend to train for these things. First time I signed up for that ultra, signed up in January knowing that it was in November, so I was like, I've got all year to train for this. And then in between that, I did a strongman competition without training. I decided to join the fire service. I did all these other crazy things, again without training. And it sort of makes me think, why do I not train for these things? And it sort of comes down to, especially pre-COVID and pre-ankle break for me, I was very much on that whole be strong to be useful thing. So I was like, if I have to train to do one of these things, I'm not strong enough. Mm-hmm. I haven't done enough of the general work to be able to just go off and do everything.
But were you successful in them before? So before when you do these events, the first OTT, the fire service, were you successful?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm going to turn the tables now. My turn to start questioning you. Have you DNF'd? Have you not accomplished something that you've set out to achieve?
Post-COVID, yes. Post-ankle break. Before that, I didn't. When I was younger, and I see it as I've lived a few different lives. I've done a lot with my life. And when I got into that period of really taking I was general training. I trained for a bit of everything, but not specifically for events. But I would turn up and do events. So I was very fit. I was always training, just not specifically. And since I went through that period of my life, I hadn't had a DNF. I'd always made sure I'd finish something. Almost like you were saying, that Goggins mentality of taking souls. So
you've got grit, as they call it. But because you're functionally fit, you can run, you can jump, you can do what you needed to do. But they were probably. So if I take it slightly differently, can you swim?
No. Not very well.
So if we put you into a swimming event.
Yeah.
So because you're functionally fit, from your gymnastics, from your strongman, from your running, from your cycling, they were the events you were kind of sticking to. So you had a very good base fitness there, and that saw you through successfully. If I now throw you in the swimming pool, it's going to be a completely different story.
Yeah. I did actually, in that period, not a lot of people know this either, I did do a triathlon, like a super sprint triathlon. So the swim was very short because I was so intimidated by water, but I wanted to get over that because, again, I wanted to be able to do everything. And I figured out afterwards I could swim 50 metres at a time. Like, I trained 6 months, 6 days a week of swimming to try and get to a point where I could swim. From not being able to do a length to I got to the point where I could do 2 lengths at a time, but I was swimming like a mile a session, just 2 lengths at a time. And I would do, it was a 200 metre swim, so I did 2 lengths, so that was a quarter of it done. Then I'd have to rest for a few minutes, like 3 minutes, do another 50. And I figured out that if I had not had those rests and just been able to swim for that time, I'd have been top 5, and that really bugs me that I didn't.
But you're still successful.
Yeah.
So that's it's the I've tried something, I've been successful at it. Yeah, okay, the swimming, you worked out a methodology in a way, and a process how to overcome. I don't want to say lack of fitness. That's the wrong terminology, but not as fit as you were for your other disciplines.
Yeah.
So, what I'm going to do now in front of everyone, or whoever's listening and watching this, is let's find something that you don't do, and let's get you to an event, to a sporting event that's something you don't do. It's completely right or left wing of what you've normally done.
Yeah. I mean, when I did strongman, I'd only ever done one ever strongman training session.
But you're functionally fit.
Yeah, true.
So every day, to a smaller degree.
Yeah.
You're lifting boxes, you run up and down stairs, you're moving stuff. We were talking off camera, Alan, about how you're currently reflooring the gymnasium. That's strongman, strongman on a lower level.
Yeah.
So you're functionally fit for that. What I'm saying is, let's take something that you don't normally practice, not something that you're familiar with, or something that you've done a lot of before, and let's see how that goes then.
Okay. Any suggestions on what should be my next event?
Oh no, I'm completely cuffing this on the wing right now. So I will get back to you, and I will post it on social. This
will be continued.
Yeah, so we both have accountability in this one.
I'm so up for it.
Yeah. And don't worry, it's not going to be the 200, by the way, because you can run.
Yeah, something that when you asked about DNFs, it took me straight back to the only thing that I said I would do and haven't done, and that was. It was the first. So I'm doing a project called the 12 Labours Project. So I've set myself 12 challenges based off the stories of Hercules and his 12 labours. I've got 12 years to do them. And it's just 12 really hard challenges that I'm going to do roughly once a year. Hopefully I can get it done before the 12 years, like way before, but that's my time limit to do it. And the first one I tried to do, this was me, I had come back from my ankle break. I went through this spiral of really bad depression for a couple of years, and then coming out of that, I realised what was missing was my fitness and being able to go out and do these challenges. So I really just dug my feet in, and I was like, I'm getting back into this. And the first one I wanted to do was the Welsh 3000s, and I only knew about it because my mate wanted to do it, and he was like, yeah, I want to do the Welsh 3000s. He was getting really into mountains and stuff. I'd never really been in the mountains other than that ultra run, so I was like, yeah, I'll do it with you.
Brilliant.
And then he was like, yeah, do you want to go out training and stuff? And me being me, I was like, no, I don't need to train for it. I've run ultra marathons without training. This isn't going to be hard.
Ouch.
Went massively unprepared. I've told this story a couple of times on the podcast about how I didn't bring the right clothing, and they did, and got soaked, got hypothermia before we'd even started trying it. We got there, got to the top of Snowdon to start, and I was shaking with hypothermia, almost passing out, going up the mountain, throwing up. And then we started the first section of mountains, got to the second, got halfway up Penarolwen, and I was like, I am done. I cannot do anything. I'm completely shattered. You guys carry on. They're like, no, we're not going to carry on if you don't. So I was like, I'll keep pushing on. Got to the top of the mountain, and I was like, my mate was like, oh, we just got to go round this horseshoe up to the next one. And in my head, I thought that was ticking off that whole section. And like when I went back the second time and he pointed it out and we got there, I was like, oh, is this section done? He was like, no, this is the next mountain. And I was like, oh my God, like this is way bigger than I thought. But the first time, just seeing that, I was like, I can't do that. I'm done. I'm going back. And they called it with me. And that was the first time I really said, I'm going to do this thing. And I wasn't able to do it, no matter how much mentally I wanted to. And that really hurt. Like,
it does sting a bit. It does.
Yeah, that took a lot out of me, and it made me really question what I was doing and if I was even capable of doing these 12 challenges. I almost gave up after that first one. I was like, maybe I'm just not cut out for this anymore. I'm still young, but maybe I'm too old for it. Maybe that's it. Like, I'm just far too old for this.
It's amazing. We do try and find an excuse to justify these things that happen.
Yeah.
But rather than going, actually, okay, lessons learned, going to do a little bit of training, going to do a little bit of recce, going to look into clothing, look into nutrition and everything, how to do it, smash it out.
Yeah, and I have since gone back and done it, as you would know from listening to the podcast.
Yes, I was aware.
Wasn't the most pleasant of experiences, but I really think it went well. Going up that mountain the second time, the one that I cancelled on.
Penny Alwyn, yeah.
Yeah.
Let's be fair, that's a horrible pull up.
Oh, yeah.
From the Ogwen Cafe up that face is horrible.
Yeah. Maybe it wasn't Penarolwyn. There's another one. I'm awful with the name. This is how unprepared I was. Even the second time, I didn't know the names of the mountains. I didn't know the route, anything. So I've sort of tried to pick it up just from doing it and being like, Sam, what mountains are we on right now? But maybe it wasn't Penarolwyn, but there was just one, and it just killed me off. And yeah, then going back up the second time, and I was fine, and I was like, this is where I was dying last time. And I was like a bit embarrassed that that's what happened the first time, but then it was like good to feel like myself again after that.
Yeah, it's good to push through the boundaries. Now, it could have been the case that, you got down past the Carnedi and further down, maybe the Glidders or wherever, and the same thing happened again. But you then push the boundary.
Yeah.
So then you go back a third time. There's some routes that I know some friends of mine, they've been trying. One of the guys who's been trying a route, he's done it more than a dozen times. Not yet has he succeeded because various different things have happened. From injury to weather to family emergencies. Everyone has, I've got a bit of a mountaineering background, and I had this mountain that I attempted several times before I actually successfully summited it because various different things happened.
Yeah.
We all kind of have them, so it's, there's going to be that one thing there, that one chalice that you're going to have to really push to try and get.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to find out what yours out of these 12 hours is going to be.
Yeah. I think I've got an idea on what it's going to be, but I'll keep that off camera for now. So I feel like I've barely scratched the surface with where this podcast could go, but I'm very aware of the time we've been recording for. And I in no way intended for this to be completely about coaching, which it's ended up being, which is great. I've absolutely loved doing this, but I feel like I will have to have you again on at some point.
Happy to be on, and I'll come prepared questions for you to find out.
Exciting.
And maybe next time around we can disclose what your challenge is going to be.
Yeah. Stay tuned for the next episode. One thing I ask every guest on finishing is thinking about your life, thinking about everything we've spoken about today. Although all we've spoken about is coaching, so it doesn't have to be relevant to coaching, is what is the one biggest piece of advice you would give to the listener?
Enjoy what you're doing.
Nice
It's simple as that. We put so much expectations on what we do. We have to achieve a certain level, be a certain grade. By a certain point in life, we have to be a certain status. We have to do all this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
We don't have to be. Enjoy yourself. Have fun.
No, I completely agree. Well, thank you so much for coming on,
Thank you for inviting me on. It's
all
been
of your
great fun.
knowledge. First podcast for you, so you're now part of the podcast crew.
I know, it feels strange.
And definitely I'm well up for having you come on again and share more about your experiences, because you've hinted at things here and there, your own ultra experiences, mountaineering, all of that. Like, love to hear more about it. I'm sure everyone else would too. So
We should find a poll, send a poll out, see what they fancy next.
yeah, definitely. Well, thanks for coming on.
Thank you for the invitation.
We'll see you next time.
Indeed you will.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Adventure Athletes podcast. If you like this episode, make sure you follow us on Instagram, Spotify and YouTube, and share our content around. It helps more than you can ever imagine. Now, if there's a person in particular that you want to hear from, or a topic that you want us to cover, just drop us a message, let us know in our DMs, and we'll make sure we try and reach out to the relevant people to cover that topic for you. We're always trying to make content that you guys want to listen to. We have just dropped our website. It's adventureathletes.co.uk, and you can go on there to find out the range of different services we offer. So we have sports massage, different training programs, and personal training, both online and in person, that you can sign up to on the website. So make sure you go and check us out at adventureathletes.co.uk.